We are counting down to the federal budget on Tuesday, and we're joined now by political editor of The Australian, Dennis Shanahan, for what we can expect. Dennis, thanks for joining us on this Saturday afternoon. Firstly, the government has announced its new housing scheme. Single parents need just 2% for a deposit. What do you make of this policy?
Oh, well, this is a continuation of the whole emphasis on the housing industry, and it is all about trying to keep the building industry going with the social side of helping people, particularly those on lower incomes, to actually buy houses and move from renting into home ownership.
So you expect the budget will focus on health, economic and national security. Why is that important?
Oh, well, look, this is effectively a pre-election budget. Even if there is another budget in April next year before a May election, this is the real formation of the political strategy and the economic strategy for the election. What we are seeing is a greater emphasis on the economy in this budget than a budget in itself. What we're seeing is that Josh Frydenberg is saying the way to fix the budget with record national debt and record deficit is to actually fix the economy by job creation and getting business investment rolling. Now, so far, that has been working very well, much better than expected because of the COVID pandemic. And so the government is playing to that strength of economic security, that is job security. Because it is a pandemic election and a pandemic budget, the emphasis is still on healthcare and helping people whose jobs have been affected by the pandemic. And finally, this is also a pandemic which has created tensions in the region, particularly with China. We're seeing a very poor relationship with China at the moment, growing military aggression in the area. And so the government is switching to even more to defence spending, another $750 million on the billions already spent, the tens of billions already spent on defence. So the government is playing to coalition strengths while it's also demonstrating that it's trying to address the stresses of COVID-19 on the population's health and their livelihoods.
There are always winners and losers. What's your prediction? Who's going to miss out?
Well, look, I think that the people who may have thought that they may get something, that is people on higher income earners, there was some expectation that what the government may do is bring forward its third tranche of tax cuts, where it's all part of the legislated tax reform, but it's not due till 2024. But I think the government is going to concentrate much more on lower income earners for tax breaks, for business. And of course, it's going to spend billions on aged care and childcare. So it's responding politically to the pressures on the aged care system, which were highlighted by the health disaster in Victoria and all the deaths in the aged care system there as a result of COVID-19. So aged care will be a winner, childcare will be a winner, lower income earners will be winners, and paradoxically, for a coalition government, those on higher incomes are unlikely to get any unexpected bonuses out of the budget on Tuesday.
It's interesting. What are you expecting from Labor's budget reply? Do you think those areas will be their focus as well?
Oh, well, Anthony Albanese has made childcare his emphasis basically since he became leader. So childcare will be his big response in his budget in reply. A very important reply for Anthony Albanese. He's under pressure. All oppositions are under pressure at the moment around the world. And we've seen that the pandemic is very tough for oppositions. The other problem that Anthony Albanese faces in his response is that while he can talk about childcare, he actually can't be seen to be undermining what the job the government has already done on economic management. That's why this week He went back to the days of Kevin Rudd and Kevin Rudd's successful declaration before the 2007 election that he would be a fiscal conservative, that he would be an economic conservative and cautious about how he spends money. But this, of course, is a big switch away from the big taxing, big spending agenda of Labor at the last budget. But the difficulty is Anthony Albanese is going to have to make big decisions on future tax cuts, big spending, and convince the public that Labor would have handled the pandemic health-wise and economically better than the coalition.
Yeah, well, as you say, this is a pre-election budget. And as you say as well, that the state elections this year and last year have shown just how hard it is for the opposition to win during this COVID-19 pandemic. When we do come up to this federal election, it has to be called within 10 months' time. What are Labor's chances?
Well, look, I think that it'll be a tight contest. Let's face it. The numbers are that the Morrison government is a minority government. It actually has lost further seats in redistributions, in Victoria particularly. And so the government going into the election, whether it's late this year or early next year, has to win seats just to maintain government. It can't afford to lose any. It's already behind the 8 ball. So what we have seen is that the government has been trying carefully to manage the economy, of course, which is the key, and the pandemic, but also trying to get rid of problems such as aged care and the issue of just this week of the outrage over banning Australian citizens from coming back from India. The government is working very politically, and I think that as long as the government continues to do its best, what we have seen, and as you mentioned, the state government elections and the territory government elections have seen returns of governments where the governments haven't done perfectly, far from it. And some of them are expected to lose. Yet we've seen in Queensland and the Northern Territory strong returns of incumbent governments, same in Tasmania. So what is on the coalition side is as long as it manages the pandemic in a way the public, and so far the polling is showing the government is overwhelmingly getting approval. Therefore, I think that you'd have to say at this stage, the coalition's in front, although on the numbers, it's behind.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Dennis Shanahan, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us on your Saturday afternoon. Appreciate it.
Thanks.